right, let's talk defense. Everybody knows that defense wins championship, right? And that's the name of the game, turnovers and takeaways. You don't have to have the best of the best offense, but you got to have an efficient offense. But the defense is everything. And don't let you have great special teams play, and you're really going far. Whenever you can get a small field, like short area of the field, close to the money zone, green zone, red zone, turnovers and takeaways, it goes a long way. Let me repeat, it goes a long way. And I believe that we got some pieces in places as it relates to the front four. Now we got a different stretch of imagination for your mind. Mike Nolan, Tom Sula, and Coach Edwards. I think that those guys right there should be able to help out the front end. Now on the secondary part, the Maurice Lindquist and the Al Harris, I think that they will bring in a certain mentality. But as far as the scheme-wise, Mike Nolan and Tom Sula are the guys that we really have to take a real good attention to. And then, of course, Edwards with scheme fits. Now, DeMarcus Ware came out earlier this week and said basically he played under Rob Marinelli's system, which he thought that it was pretty okay as long as your dogs can get home, the front four. Get upfield, get to the quarterback. That's the name of the game. Try to make the team one-dimensional, bend but don't break. So it wasn't a lot of stretch of your imagination, right? It wasn't a lot of blitzing, was not a lot of exotic stuff. It was just straight up, line them up, lace them up, one gap, get upfield, and get to the quarterback. Create pressure on the edge if possible. Now, with this new system, with this new scheme, with this new schematic, however you want to look at it, this defense may send 5. They may appear that they're going to send 5 and drop in coverage as it relates to those edge guys. D-Law, he's going to have to stand up. He's not going to get into 3-point. And trust me, hopefully he can hold his ground, which I think he can. Normally, when I look at some of the old clips there, you will see D-Law getting upfield, even though the running back has already got around him, still get upfield and make the tackle. D-Law is a play through the echoes of the whistle type of guy. Now, when we look at everything within the confines of what the Cowboys should do, we can say, man, we had the talent for many of years. It's just that we didn't capitalize. We didn't blitz. We didn't stretch out the scheme enough. We couldn't stop the bleeding. We continue to go with the philosophy of bend but don't break, playing 5 to 10 yards off. Sometimes 15, if you know what I mean. Or the crazy defense where everybody line up at the first down marker where the first down would be at and only send 3. We've seen that before, which we got burnt off of. I think it was against the Kansas City Chiefs one year. You dropped everybody and then they just passed a little dump off ball and little Tyreek Hill, we went all the way up the field and scored a touchdown. That's been the philosophy of this defense. We play aggressive, but we bend but don't break. And when we on a roll, we on a roll. But when we on a slide or a skid, that's just where it's been. Now, as far as turnovers and takeaways, we've been crying about, hey, nobody can get their hands on the ball. And when it happened, boy, we like to throw a parade for them because we really don't know how to react when we get the ball in our hands. That's why we have a limited numbers of pick sixes and these sort of things. Now, I will say this, with this new philosophy, with the dogs that we do have, the Diggs, I know he's a rookie. Oh, Reggie, I know he's not proven yet because he from Tulsa or what have you. And we just brought in on our late night hype show, we brought in the Darryl Worleys of the worlds, right? I think that he's aggressive, just like Maurice Kennedy. Those two guys are aggressive. They jump to the ball. They're so underrated. I think that length in the scheme and the guys that's going to be in front of them should benefit them. The Xavier Woods, Cheeto Wouzier, we going back and forth. Do you play him inside? Do you play him at the box safety? Do you keep him to fight for that cornerback role? I will say this, nation. Nothing is given to any of these players Nothing. None of these guys are going to walk right into this locker room and say, okay, I'm granted this position. Just by inheritance or something, or just by I was drafted from the previous administration. No. We like Donovan Wilson. We like the Darian Thompsons, but they got to fight for it. And even when we think about the linebacker play, oh my goodness, what they would do with the Smith brother, what they're going to do with LVE, I think that they have figured out ways to utilize them the best way. Now, facing the first few teams that we will play, the Rams, the Falcons, and when we look at those teams, we can say, well, let's just focus in on the Rams. What kind of offense do they run? Up-tempo, motion. Oh, young head coach. So would he try to throw in a new wrinkle? We can't give away all of our secrets because I'm thinking, if I'm not mistaken, that we play them in the preseason. So they'll be scouting everything. So we got to be cautious because I look at this team, this Dallas Cowboys team. We must start off fast. We must start off on the same page. And here's the reason why. The psyche of this team. Momentum is everything. Now, although I prefer for the Dallas Cowboys to get hot during the latter part of the season, nevertheless, if it's on the early part of the season, just so that we can get things going with the new administration as far as the coach. Because it's a lot of people that got to buy in to what this coaching staff have to say. A lot of people got to buy into this. Remember this defense would not just be a flat-out upright 4-3 defense. This defense is going to also be a hybrid of a 4-3 defense. And I think, and I said this many times before, I really think that Mike McCarthy, he sat back watching all of the teams play, got a chance to reevaluate, do a self-inventory of himself. And it's always lovely when you do a self-inventory of yourself. You can see where you slip. You can see where you fall. You can see where your shortcomings are at. You can see where you need to restock up and put back in. And I think that McCarthy, he looked at it and said, okay, I'm going to bring in a new flavor. I'm not going to paint myself in a corner and not be able to get out of it. So when we look at this defense, we may play a team, and the historical data or the analytics may say, okay, this team against a 3-4 struggles, or this team plays well against a 4-3, or this quarterback. I think that he looked at everything and he said to himself, all right, we can play more of these looks because this team naturally struggles with a 3-4 defense. Or this team, we're going to play in these lights because this team or that team struggles against a 4-3. So that's the benefit of having a hybrid style of defense. And when I'm talking about the Cowboys, when we can get on that particular edge of momentum, you know it's crazy when everybody is kind of like in the middle, especially the national media, when they're right in the middle and they saying, man, when I think about these Dallas Cowboys, we got to pencil them in here. Oh, can they win it this amount of games? You know the Cowboys are up to something when they start going all the way back and say, well, in 19 of 90, you know they up to something. So that's where I think that this team is heading toward. Now, the reservation part of it, there will be growing pains. That's why I say, we got to come off, or we got to have an early start, a fast start. I know the 5,000-pound gorilla will say, well, the Cowboys started off 3-0 last year. Different circumstances, different situation and environment. Because I look at it like if the Cowboys start off 3-0 this year, it'd just be different in these factors. For one, you have a coach that knows how to identify with the players, not just Mike McCarthy, but his other contemporaries. Number two, with this being the situation, what happened last year, they can go back and say, man, you know what? We cannot fall into the trap, and we cannot take any game for granted. And number 3, I think that you guys are contributing to this, which is good. We got guys that got this chip on their shoulder. Man, just think about it. Cheeto Woozier got a chip on his shoulder. Jordan Hip Pocket Lewis got a chip on his shoulder. Diggs, he did an interview earlier this year and said, hey, I got a chip on my shoulder. Oh, CD, TD. Don't you think and don't you know that brother got a chip on his shoulder? Ezekiel Elliott, oh, no longer the highest paid running back in the National Football League. Oh, he got a chip on his shoulder. Rain Dakota Prescott, don't you think that he got something to prove? Tony Pollard, don't you think that he got something to prove? Oh, everybody got a chip on their shoulders. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Jarwin. This whole team got a chip on their shoulder. And it's time. It's time. I think Anthony Brown, he done put a potato chip on his shoulder. I think that's what he did. Let me know if I'm wrong. I thought he put a potato chip, but I get the point. And that was a couple of years ago. So this team got something to prove, and I think that we'll be hungry and we'll be ready to get it going in the right direction. Let me know how you guys feel. All right, so this message is for the mods. Man, I really appreciate my moderators for holding it down on my YouTube page. I really do appreciate each and every last one of you all. Now, I don't know who is the person that's banning comments or what have you. And you know, the nation, I let people speak their mind. As long as it's not all out the lines or out of lines as relates to, hate speeches and coming at personal attacks and things like that. But if it's something along the lines of gray area, and as long as somebody leaving some context to it, leave them alone. Don't be banning everybody comment that do not agree with your stance or do not agree with me. Remember this, those convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. I allow people to come here to vent, to speak their mind, long as if it's within reason, right? So let's not be banned happy. I have no way of checking who is blocking who. Nevertheless, if it's not of any spam or self-promotions, let the person speak their mind. And if it's something out of line, we give them a couple of chances, what have you, and then we give them the boot. All right, so it's only predicated to what we've been talking about within the confines of the conversation for the nation. And this is only to my YouTube channel because I know this video was posted everywhere. And I just want people to be freely to speak, as long as it's within reason, right? So that's been my time. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. I thank everybody for sharing this content. I thank everybody for help growing the nation. This thing is going to grow even bigger. And with the help of you all, this is how this is possible, right? So let's continue to grind. Let's continue to shine, share this content. Let that friend, neighbor, foe know where to go when they want to tune in to Cowboy Sports Talk and beyond. That's been my time. I thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Let's grow and let's go. Beard Nation, baby, beard gang. Y'all see the beard growing, baby? Still got a better beard than Daryl Worley. Come on now. Of the worlds. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Salute.